Hello everyone and welcome to my YouTube channel. I am so excited today to have an interview with Joey Dollmaker Versaw, and he just did a seminar for us at Modern Doll. I have a video of that here on the channel. You should check it out. It was so fascinating. I learned so much. But I'm really excited to talk with you today about your journey as a doll maker. So thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thanks for having me.
So my first question that I'm going to ask you, this is the first question I ask everybody. Did you have a favorite doll when you were a kid? And if so, who was it?
I did. My favorite doll as a child was probably Pink and Pretty Barbie.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of disco era. Yeah.
I love the Barbies from that era, their faces and the way that the eyes were painted and stuff.
And she had the drip jewel diamond earrings, and I was obsessed. A fur boa, you know. Yeah.
They were so the Barbies from that era are something totally different. So tell me a little bit about you, like the condensed version, I guess, of your journey as a doll maker, kind of from start to where we are. This is your newest doll, because it's the doll that we got here at the seminar. But just tell me about your journey from start to finish a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. Growing up male in the period that I grew up in, I wasn't allowed to have dolls as a child. It was always kind of a battle because I always was attracted to and wanted, but never could have. So I started out making paper dolls, and because I could do that for free at home and no one could tell me no.
Right.
And then I slowly started learning taught myself how to sculpt, and I was really fascinated with stop motion animation.
Oh, wow.
I was interested in like puppetry, like Jim Henson. I really loved the Dark Crystal, and I really wanted Gelfling dolls, and that never happened. So that's what started me in sculpting, is I wanted a Kira doll from the Dark Crystal.
That is so fascinating. We were just talking about the artist Wendy Froud that made the Kira puppet the other day in the room, so that's really cool.
So she was my first official sculpted doll, and long gone, and I'm sure she was terrible, but that was my first real attempt at doll making, and it continued to grow, and by the time I was a teenager, I kind of rebelled and started collecting dolls, because I was at that age where I was like, you can't tell me what to do, I'm going to do my own thing. And my mom would always say, well, at least it's not drugs, and I'd say, well, it kind of is, you know, they kind of are drugs.
You know what my mom says about that? She says, you only need a drawer in your house for drugs. You don't need a whole room. Anyway, it's a little side joke there.
But I was very fascinated, and I continued, and I started making dolls for friends as just a way to like show them that I loved them or we had a connection. So in fact, I still have a few friends that have in these recent years pulled them out and taken photos, and it's really cute because they're very archaic.
Well, that's so nice to see though, like, because you are a successful doll artist, and it's so cool to see the roots of kind of like where you came from to now. So I think that's awesome that they have them. And
Flickr also, a good or bad thing, has a huge history of me posting from early times when I was still using Sculpey and whatnot, seeing the evolution. Dolls have always been just a really big part of me because I really connect with humans and the human spirit and shape, and also I like fashion and whimsy and fantasy. So to me it was like the Mona Lisa, but better because you could pose, move, change. And so I continued to be fascinated. And Ernesto from Dolldom, who's become a really, really close friend of mine over the years, he had in one of his articles ordained me as the modern day Geppetto. And I said, I will take that.
Yeah, that is a beautiful, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Compliment. That is a beautiful compliment. That is such a beautiful compliment to get. I think that's amazing. That's interesting that you bring up Ernesto from Dolldom, because that's how I was introduced to your dolls. I saw a post that he made about your dolls. Now, tell me about, so from what I understand, what I've seen online and from research, you are the first person to ever do a 3D printed doll. So talk to me about how you kind of broke that barrier and how that came about.
Yeah, definitely. I had a friend in the industry who's a toy designer, Ion Tallman, and we were talking on the phone one day, and I was telling him how I was kind of getting sick with the resin fumes, making stuff in my kitchen. And he said, well, there's this new technology, 3D printing is really early, but like maybe you should look into it. And he had already been playing around with it. So I kind of dived right in. I self-taught myself, much how I self-taught myself how to sculpt and how to sew. I taught myself how to sculpt on the computer. And I just kind of made it right at that timeline. There were a couple other dolls. There was a doll called Quinn, kind of a space-agey, kind of BJD looking doll. And there was also the Makeys, which were kind of children Blythe kind of type bigger head dolls.
I'll have to look into those.
Yeah, and I think they came out of the UK, not 100% sure.
Okay.
But so that all kind of dropped around the same timeline, but my pictures predecess that, and also I was the first to do an actual fashion doll.
Right, fashion doll.
So that's why I always say the first fashion doll, because it's kind of fuzzy right there. Yeah.
But it's cool because that technology came about and you were like on the front line, like the front of that technology, and you started producing your dolls that way.
And my first article in, I think, Dolls magazine, it said 3D bombshell, the world's first 3D bombshell, which I always loved.
That's amazing. I love that. So fast forward from that to today. What is your doll making process like today?
So it's changed a lot. I still am having some dolls produced overseas, but for the most part, I really want dolls are connection to me, and so I really want to keep that connection, that touch, that so that everything's really special when people get it from me. I want to hand paint things. I want to do all of that. So I basically kind of have my own factory. I have a big studio on the Oregon coast. It's in an old high school that was built in 1953.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
It's like a 1,400 square foot classroom with all glass windows in the front. And I have multiple 3D resin printers set up, and I am just a worker bee. I am there patterning for new dolls, creating costumes and sewing, 3D printing, hand painting, sanding, spraying, everything that goes along with it. It's a one-man factory.
I love the way you paint the faces of your dolls too. I think they're just so vibrant. That's what I really like about they're very vibrant dolls.
I love color.
Yes.
I always have.
It's great. I think they look fantastic. Another thing I love about your dolls is that you 3D print the wigs. So tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah. So there's pros and cons along with everything, especially being a doll artist. Wigs are actually a very hard thing to source, especially for smaller size like fashion dolls. And also, I wasn't doing big runs where I could have. I have done vinyl rooted heads, but it's a process, and it's also very expensive.
Yes.
And I kind of was like, well, how do I kind of get around this? And because of my love for stop animation and for things like that, I was like, well, sculpted wigs are very expressive, and as Ernesto once said, oh God, I love you, Joey, because I don't ever have to worry about sitting there and preparing a wig for photography for like 3 hours.
There's no stray hairs.
Exactly.
Amen,
Yeah.
Because that is one of the things I love about them is that you don't have. They're just they're very expressive. There's no stray hair. They look great all the time, no matter what.
And like she came with 2 wigs, a black hair and a blonde hair, and it's like 2 seconds, you're just swap, and there she is. She's photo ready. She's looking good.
And then for the people who still like a traditional
she can be wigged.
Hair wig, you can stick a hair wig.
And there's sellers,
fiber wig on her head.
Yeah, there's sellers on Etsy and other places that do Barbie-sized wigs and whatnot. So
I just love her. So, what of the dolls that you've made? Who is your favorite?
Ooh,
I love asking that question.
My newest works are always my favorites, but if I were to like just kind of, I feel like Mary Magpie, Miss Mary is probably the one that I was most connected to because she's the character that I was sketching all through high school.
Oh, wow.
She was kind of like what I call my inner bitch.
Yes. I love it.
Yeah, yeah.
I love it.
And I really found growing up, I've really found power and empowerment in these strong female lead characters that they were, you know, women talk about over-sexualization, or they talk about, you know, how subjectifying and with the hair, the makeup, the outfits. But as a little gay boy, I was looking at those women thinking, they have power.
Right.
They hold the whole room. When they make an entrance, everybody stops and time stops.
Yes.
And I thought that was such a beautiful thing to own and to have. So when I designed Miss Mary, I wanted her to have that powerhouse, like, you know, to be that, like, yes, you know, I am a force to be reckoned with, you know.
I totally get that. I love that. So not only do you do dolls, but you have a whole other line of creations. Can you tell us a little bit more about some of your other things?
So I'm terrible because I literally stay up nights thinking of new things, and I'll be in like 10 different projects going on, and I'll like all of a sudden be like, oh, and I'll start on this other thing, and so I bounce back and forth in between them. But doing fashion dolls for so many years, I wanted to do something that was really spoke to the heart of myself, my child inside, and I loved trolls growing up. And so I thought one of the things I really didn't love about trolls was they were kind of frozen Charlottes. You know, you couldn't move the arms, you couldn't move the legs. And so I was like, well, let's try playing around with making a jointed version of that. And then that kind of blew up, and I got a lot of new fans that really enjoyed the trolls I was making. I call troglins. And I've done, within just a short period of time, because this is what I'm saying, I'm a worker, like literally within 3 years, I think my last count was like 76 sculpts.
Wow.
And because I'm just constantly, I want to give people something new, you know? So I feel like being an indie doll artist gives me the opportunity where I can constantly bring new sculpts,
that's a great point.
Changes, and make them special. So maybe there's a limited edition, you know, of 20, you know, you're the only one that's going to have, there's no other, you know, and then it evolves into something different. So everybody has a piece of me that's different and special and a different perspective of what I do.
And as a collector, we love things that are not, you know, mass produced. It's like, it's really special to know that, you know, I've got one of these. It's, you know, it's rare. It's, you know, it's handmade, one of a kind from this artist. And I saw, tell me this, when did you sculpt, this is just for me, and hopefully the audience will enjoy this. I saw you post your poodles on Facebook, and you have them in the sales room. Did you just sculpt those and you've already produced them?
Yeah.
Like that's how quick it was, because I saw them, and then they're in the sale, and I'm like, wow, he worked fast on that.
I did. Well, they're always in the back of my mind and in my sketchbook.
Yeah.
And so Maxie, growing up, we had a poodle. My mom said, I'm bringing home a dog. You boys need a dog, you know, a family pet. And so here she brings this teacup poodle. And me and my brother are like expecting Lassie or a golden lab. And we're like, what are we going to do with this? And it literally turned into my mom's dog. Like it would sit at the end of her bed growling at us. Like it was my mom's dog.
It was a good excuse for her to get a dog, right?
Yeah. And so Maxie was inspired by Maximilian, which was our family poodle, but he did have a constant smile on his face, and so I sculpted a cute little smile in Maxie's face. But people love accessories and pets for their dolls. I know I do.
Yes,
And so I thought, a cute little articulated poodle that can be, you know, put with anything, you know. Yeah.
And you did a really cool Jabberwocky to go along with our Alice. Like that was just, how did you even come up with that design? Like, it's amazing.
Well, I think that, so hilarious true story involving our Allison here. I sent Allison a sketch of, like, because they said, we've discussed we want a dark Alice. And I was like, okay, we can do that. Let's do a dark Alice. And so my original concept was Alice in her warrior dragon slaying gear, where she still had a dress, but she had pieces of armor on her, and she's holding the Jabberwocky's head and had a sword because she's a dragon slayer. She's a, and Allison came back and she said, I like it, but it might be a little too dark. So.
I loved it, but we knew, our audience might not, go so dark, but it was really cool.
So I was like, oh, okay, we don't want dark, we want emo. I gotcha.
Yes.
So the Jabberwocky became a pet. And that's how he came along.
He's so cool, though. He's really cool. That's so funny.
And I did little Cheshire cats to go along with it.
They're the sales. And when did you get those sculpted?
I did all of that within I think I sculpted the cats and the Jabberwockies within 24 hours.
That's
and then
amazing.
had them going. But I already had the Jabberwocky dragon body because I had done dragon trolls.
Oh, yeah,
so all I had
that's
to do was the heads,
yeah.
and I made the wings bigger.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's very cool. So when you sit down to sculpt, do you have a ritual? Or do you kind of just do it in bed, or do you kind of get a coffee?
Oh, I have to have a ritual.
Okay, what's your ritual?
Definitely the muse. But my ritual is I'm not a drinker.
Okay.
I only ever drink maybe if I'm out with friends. If we go to a Mexican restaurant, I'll get a margarita, But for sculpting, I really love having a glass or two of wine.
Oh, yeah.
Because I really feel like the spirits kind of loosen you up, and I can kind of have that muse flowing through me as I'm sculpting.
Yeah.
And it's a very organic process, even though it's so electronic. I mean, we're on the computer, you have a mouse in your hand, but I want to make it a special kind of spiritual experience. Right. So with a little bit of wine inside me, I get going. But usually I sketch everything first to kind of have that rough idea.
I really love that because you're an artist, and I love seeing your sketches. So
I'm always embarrassed of them.
No, I love them though. I love them. When you sent us the sketches, I was like, these are so cool. It's just the sketches themselves, and then the way you take that 2D and you bring it to life sculpturally. I'm in awe of that. It's amazing. I love it so much. So, tell the people out there how they can find you, where they can purchase your artwork. And how they can get in contact with you.
Yeah, definitely. So I do have a website, marymagpie.com, and you can also get a hold of me through there with my email that's attached on the Contact Us. You can find me on Facebook, Joey Dollmaker Versaw, and you can just add me there. I'm constantly keeping updated there. I have a few different groups like Mary Magpie fan page, where I kind of drop information. I have Instagram, Miss Mary Magpie Dolls.
There's a Trogman page too.
And I also have a Joey Dollmaker Versaw Instagram that because Mary was kind of big on her own, so I separated the two of my other art. Excuse me. But yeah, you can find me there. And also, since I do all of this myself, I call them drops, and I drop in small groupings, and so I'll advertise for when the drop's happening, and so you just have to watch because the day and the time that those drops, like some of my Troglins, literally in 20 minutes they're gone, and then I have people mailing me and upset. But part of the whole thing with what I do and how I do it so freely and able to offer so many different sculpts and things, some people come back and they're like, oh, are you ever going to make this again? Are you ever going to make this? I find it really hard to go back to the past and to relive that and to do it. But I do, do it occasionally in different ways, like with Miss Mary and whatnot. Yeah. But I do kind of recycle, and I do go back and I will find find certain things that are popular that I will continue to bring back, but I want to keep it special. So I don't want to be a factory where I'm constantly producing the same thing, even if it's popular.
Well, that you probably lose interest in that too as an artist. That probably you can't express yourself the way you want to.
Exactly. And it's not about the money. I wouldn't be doing this if it was about the money, you know. Right. So for me, it's a special connection I can have with everybody. So. Right.
And I like, it goes back to what you said earlier, you know, you do small batches of, 20 dolls, and we're the only 20 people in the world that have that, and that's it. So. And
even those are different from each other because they're all hand painted, you know.
So that's so cool. Is there anything else that you want the people out there to know about you that I haven't asked you today?
I think that we got everything pretty covered. I guess just that share the love of dolls. I feel that dolls are very important for our history as humans. They reflect our actions, they reflect our styles, they reflect our fascinations. So I just keep that in your heart, keep that youth in your heart, and keep enjoying playing with dolls. I think it's important.
That's such a great message. Well, thank you, Joey, so much for joining me for this interview. I am so excited that you agreed to it. Yeah. I always get really excited when someone agrees to interview with me. Everybody out there, make sure to follow him so that you can see all his future projects. And he does design something new all the time, and it is just amazing to see like the way that you create and the cool things that you come up with. So thank you so much for sharing your art with all of us as well.
Thank you so much.
All right, guys, I will leave links to everything so you guys can follow him. And thank you so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Bye. I want to say a huge thank you to my patrons from Patreon: Lindsay S., Leah W., Doreen Z., Janice H., Mercedes W., Bear Sunflower, Shorna R., Stephanie W., Shalane C., Louisa's Knickknacks, Marty G., Lynn P., Cindy L., Sabrina A., Kitten Cat, Diane B., and Debbie N. Thank you so much for your support. Your support helps me continue bringing you great dolly content. For more information on how you can become a supporter of this channel, please see the description in the video below. Thank you.